We're about to explore some of the best game revivals and remasters that don't just preserve our childhood, but redefine it. Our first stop is down to Bikini Bottom in the iconic world of Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Look, I'm not saying that your childhood was incomplete if you didn't play the original, but I kind of am. The original game was an absolute nostalgia dive with its incredible music and graphics. You might have owned this one on PlayStation 2 or Xbox. The remastered one though brings it back as kind of like a humble love letter to fans, with colours that pop off the screen like never before. And the gameplay keeps the core of what made the original one feel so special, whilst infusing it with enough modern elements to make it feel reborn. This one is more of a graphical metamorphosis. The challenges you remember are still there, but they've been smoothed out to eliminate the awkward camera angles and some of the jittery things that plagued the original. They even added content that was initially cut from the game. It's like a director's cut that you didn't know you needed. There's a clear difference in the art style in comparison to the original, but it still seems to work. The original feels like it's based on the classical SpongeBob cartoon episodes, whereas the new one kind of is more in line with the more later Nickelodeon episodes. Our next escape is sci-fi infused, to another dimension in the cartoon world of Destroy All Humans. So far they've remade both the first and the second games, and the developers really took the essence of the originals and dialed it up to 11. No more wonky controls or less than perfect graphics. There's crisp textures, smoother animations, and a bunch of quality of life improvements that make taking over Earth more fun than before. Now of course you still play as Cryptosporidium, the alien invader clone with a bad attitude, and your mission is the same: conquer Earth and subdue those pesky humans. But what makes this remake stand out is that somehow they've managed to make everything feel so contemporary whilst preserving the game's core identity. The humour is still in full force, the missions still challenge you in the same old quirky ways, and the dialogue is about as sassy as it ever was. What's neat though is how the remakes also tackle some of the issues that were present in the originals. If you ever felt like the objectives were way too vague before, now you get much clearer instructions without sacrificing the game's original challenge. And let's talk about the updated arsenal. You now have more fluid combat options, which makes the action a bit more responsive and engaging. We're diving into one of the most celebrated realms of video game history, and I'm talking about the Legend of Zelda series and the beloved Ocarina of Time and its 3D master. So let's address the elephant in the room here. How do you actually improve upon a masterpiece? Because this game is treasure to a lot of fans. The answer, it turns out, is careful, loving attention to detail. And Ocarina 3D isn't simply just a visual upgrade, although let's be honest, the updated graphics is still nice. It's a reimagining that honours its source material whilst offering nuances that make it feel modern. The creators had a monumental task though with this one, staying true to the classic whilst adding improvements that can be appreciated both by the long-term fans and newcomers alike who didn't get a chance to play it. And they seem to have done it. The gameplay mechanics have been fine-tuned to a T. Navigating through Hyrule's vast lands has never been smoother thanks to the control schemes. Plus, with the 3D visuals that have been upgraded a tad, the world feels even more immersive and grand, whether you're exploring the temples or riding across Hyrule's field. For purists though of the original, the core story, the puzzles, the memorable boss fights, they're all still there. The remaster perfectly embodies the idea that a great game doesn't age, it just gets a new lease on life, waiting to capture the hearts of new generations and adventurers. This is one that didn't really need a remaster, but I'm certainly there for it. Now I'll be honest with you, I can't really think of a bigger move than bringing Halo to PC, because it was a long time coming. Now this wasn't just a matter of enhancing graphics and adding a whole bunch of DLCs, it was a promise to deliver the ultimate Halo experience, accessible to both the console veterans and PC newcomers alike, and to cut it short, boy did they deliver. Now I was actually an original console player because I played a ton of Halo on Xbox and Xbox 360 as a kid, and I also played a lot of Halo Custom Edition and Combat Evolved on the PC as a kid too, so I was kind of on both sides of the fence. Now, we had a few different Halo iterations before this, like Halo Online and a few foreign mods for the original Combat Evolved, and the only way that we could play Halo was kind of use different methods to be able to play Halo Online, that strange Russian version, in hopes that Bungie would actually release an official one. And then came the Master Chief Collection, finally ported to PC. So first up, the features. It includes a customizable interface and support for modding, broadening the creative scope for the community. Think of it like Halo Custom Edition in the early 2000s, with all of its modding support and PC features merged with the full Halo trilogy from console, along with Halo 4 and Reach 2. And let's not forget about 60 FPS gameplay and 4K resolution support, which makes everything from the shimmering energy shields to the chaotic battlefields look way more pristine. But what really sets the Master Chief Collection apart for me is the way they managed just to keep the Halo essence intact whilst incorporating modern gameplay mechanics. Some people don't feel like it brings that whole console experience to PC, but if you really get into it, it just plays the same. Whether you're blasting through Covenant forces on the beach of the Silent Cartographer mission on Combat Evolved, or engaging in some high-stakes Slayer action online, the controls are fluid and the action is just as intense as I remember it. The Master Chief Collection isn't just a tribute though to the Halo series, it's more of an evolution. It shows us that when it comes to remasters, you can indeed have your cake and eat it too. You get the whole nostalgia of reliving the original campaigns and the thrill of experiencing them now in a way that feels new and enhanced, especially if you play the old games which were kind of remastered, like Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2, and you switch the remastered graphics. It just feels really nice. But along with so many great remasters, there's a whole bunch of revivals too. These aren't just your run-of-the-mill sequels or prequels, they're more reimaginings, a chance for developers to take a more dormant franchise, inject it with new life, new mechanics, and a new storyline. Doom was always about visceral, fast-paced action, but the 2016 reboot took it to a whole nother level. Imagine taking the essence of a classic, fighting demons on Mars, and then cranking up the intensity, the graphics, and gameplay until it explodes into a ball of frenetic, gory mayhem. That's Doom 2016 for you. I was a big fan of Doom 3 and the Doom 3 BFG edition, and the new Doom just takes that and makes it even better. Now, the story doesn't stray too far from the original concept, of course. You're a long space marine stuck on a Mars facility overrun by demonic forces. The objective? Kill everything that moves. But it's how you go about the objective that sets this game apart. It introduces a new glory kill system where you can finish off enemies in the most brutal, satisfying ways imaginable when they're stunned, which makes each encounter quite thrilling and also really gruesome. The game also embraces modern first-person style shooter mechanics without compromise upon its old-school roots. The levels are open with a focus on exploration, and the gunplay feels incredibly responsive. It's the Doom that some of you might remember, but it's evolved. It's perfect for purists, old gamers, and newcomers. Now, I was never really a big player of the Tomb Raider games. I heard of them as a kid, but I never really got into them or managed to play them. But you might know of Lara Croft as the legendary treasure hunter character, and she underwent a pretty significant transformation in this reboot. Gone is the more arcadey, unstoppable, dual-wielding adventurer from before, but instead you're introduced to a more human, vulnerable character who's thrust into an adventure that's just as much about survival as it is about discovery. What sets this revival apart is how it evolves not just gameplay, but the storytelling. But it's not just about her own survival, it's about hers and her friends, which is why the story is so immersive. And this time around, the developers gave us an emotional story arc, which makes the puzzles, the exploration, and the combat feel a little bit more meaningful than they were before. The gameplay is razor sharp, so whether you're scaling cliffs or navigating through treacherous tombs, the controls feel intuitive. Combat is flexible, and it offers you multiple ways to engage with enemies. Want to go in all guns blazing? Sure. Prefer the stealthy approach? Go ahead. The game gives you the tools and freedom to play your way. Mythology enthusiasts and fans of Kratos were surprised to see the new Kratos in God of War 2018. If you thought you knew the god-killing machine from Greek mythology, think again. This reboot takes him out of the Grecian landscape and it thrusts him into a world of Norse gods and monsters. But that's not the only transformation. Kratos himself is reborn not just as a god, but as a father in this game. This revival is a masterclass in character evolution and character building. We see a Kratos who is a little bit older, wiser, and haunted by his past. He's not the rage-fueled deity we once knew. He has someone to protect and evidently a weakness. He's a complete individual struggling with parenthood and the weight of his past sins. The stakes now are not just his life, but the life of his son too, Atreus. So there's a little bit more emotional weight to the story. Gameplay-wise though, the 2018 version switched from the fixed cinematic camera angles of the original series to a more over-the-shoulder free-moving fluid camera. This change may sound minor, but it plays a significant role in immersing players into the gorgeously realised Norse world that it has. The combat is still as brutal as ever, but it now adds an element of strategy and depth that elevates it to new heights. Hitman was a franchise that redefined the stealth and strategy genres. Put on your best suit and grab your fiber wire because we're diving into the 2016 reboot. In Hitman, you play as Agent 47, who's a professional assassin known for his efficiency, resourcefulness, and a complete lack of hair. What makes this reboot stand out? Flexibility and choice. Gone are the days of just one way to eliminate your target. Now you have an entire sandbox full of lethal toys and countless ways to carry out your missions. Want to take out a target with a sniper from a high-rise building? Why not? Prefer to tamper behind the scenes to make it look like an accident? Also an option. The game's levels are intricate puzzles waiting to be solved in the most creative or violent ways that you can imagine. But it's not just the gameplay, it's the game's episodic fashion, the way that they rolled out one chapter at a time of this game when it was released. Now, some of you might be thinking here, a game about rolling monkeys and balls, how does that even compare to the grand narratives of gods, assassins, and space marines? Okay, stick with me because you'll see why in a few moments. And if you skipped this one and it wasn't part of your childhood, you're probably going to be a little bit confused. Super Monkey Ball originally rolled out in the early 2000s. The gameplay was so simple yet quite addictive. Navigate your monkey in a ball through increasingly complex mazes to collect bananas and reach the goal, or the finish line. It was a hit, especially amongst those who love challenging themselves with speedruns or tricky maneuvers, and it was also a great party game. I remember me and my brothers loved this game way back in the day on GameCube. Enter Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. It's a lovingly crafted revival that retains the core gameplay from some of the old releases like the GameCube one, whilst enhancing the graphics a little bit, adding new levels and various quality of life upgrades, and releasing it on PC. This isn't just a mere visual upgrade, it's more of a fully fledged celebration of what made the original so lovable. Everything from the vibrant visuals to the catchy music and challenging physics-based puzzles have been fine-tuned to perfection. Which of these video games is your favourite? And do you think any of these revivals or remasters don't beat the original? Comment below. Smash the like button and subscribe if you want me to release the next video, because you don't want to miss this one.